And we are back. Welcome to what is always my favourite video of the week. It is time for my Europa League and Europa Conference League predictions video. After a week where I got 12 out of 16 correct in the Champions League, let's see how many out of 30 I am going to get correct today in both the Europa League and the Europa Conference League. As always, I've done my best to try and do as much research into these games as possible, but given there are just so many teams and I have a very limited time, I will only do the best that I possibly can. As always, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video if you do enjoy these predictions series, and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. We will have our fantasy football show up at midday for you today before the Premier League prediction series returns for you tomorrow morning at the same time as this video. Let's just get straight into it because, like I said, we've got 30 more matches for you to discuss today. And where better to start than in Group A in the Europa League, which kicks us off with Olympiacos taking on West Ham United. Now, West Ham will be looking to bounce back from that disappointing display from them against Aston Villa at the weekend, and they're coming up against tough opposition, should I say, in Olympiacos. Not that they are not top opposition, but I look at this and I have to think that realistically West Ham should be winning this game. Olympiacos are not the team they used to be, and they also have a fair few injuries at the moment as well. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to West Ham. However, their away form in Europe has not been the best over the last couple of years. The other game in this group sees Bakatopola taking on Freiburg, and again, I think it's a tough one to call this, but I'm just going to edge it in the favour of the German side and go for a 2-1 win for them. In Group B, we start with Marseille taking on AEK Athens, and to be honest, I think this is a game that Marseille should be taking pretty comfortably. Athens do have their moments, but I think Marseille should be taking this one, and I'm going to go for a 3-0 win to Marseille. And the other game in this group sees Brighton and Hove Albion taking on Ajax. Now, obviously, Ajax have just sacked their manager after now being in the relegation zone in the Eredivisie, which sees them something like 23 or 24 points behind PSV already after just 9 weeks. So it's a crazy, crazy season for Ajax. I have never seen them in my lifetime in this sort of position, but they have sacked their manager. There's going to be this new manager pomp, and we know the quality of players that Ajax have available to them. So this isn't going to be the easiest win for Brighton, who of course desperately need a result as well after losing their opening game and then drawing with Marseille in Matchday 2. They have to win tonight against Ajax, but I'm going to back them to do so. I've gone for a 3-2 win, which is obviously very cautious of the fact that Ajax will be looking to bounce back from what has been a horrendous start to the season. But I think Brighton should get the job done. Into Group C, and this is a very interesting group because all the teams that have been at home have won their opening game. So it means that all 4 teams sit on 3 points going into Matchday 3. I am going to allow this trend to be bucked in this opening fixture, though, as I go for a 2-1 win to Real Betis over Aris Limassol. Limassol are a good side, but Real Betis should have the quality of player available to them to get the result tonight, but it could be an interesting one. I could see it being a very close one. Whereas in the other game, Slavia Prague against Rangers, I just, again, have no faith in Scottish sides, and I have to apologise for predicting Atletico to get the result over Celtic last night because Celtic were able to produce an incredible performance and get the 2-2 draw. But sadly, I'm going to keep disrespecting Scotland, and I'm going to go for 3-1 to Slavia Prague over Rangers in this one. On to the next group, and we start off with Rakow Częstochowa taking on Sporting Lisbon, and as much as I'd like to see Rakow get a result in this one, I just don't see it happening, to be honest with you, and I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Sporting Lisbon. The other game in this group is a little bit more interesting. Sturm Graz taking on Atalanta. Now, yesterday we spoke about the top side in Italy taking on the second side in Austria in, of course, the Inter Milan versus Salzburg game. I went for a 4-1 win. It ended up being 2-1. We now have the top team in Austria taking on one of the mid-table sides in Italy in Atalanta on current form. So you have to look at the fact that those sides were very closely matched yesterday and look at the fact that Sturm Graz are top of the league. But then you have to consider that Atalanta have won both of the 2 games in this group so far. Put all that together, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think all 3 results are possible in this one. Next up, we've got Liverpool, who will be hoping not to lose to Toulouse. Oh, I'm so funny. 3-0 Liverpool. This shouldn't be any difficulty for them at all. Toulouse running in this competition because they won the French Cup. They're not doing very well in Ligue 1 this season. Liverpool obviously playing very, very well. The other game in this group sees Union Saint-Gilloise taking on Lask, yet another Austrian side. This is time taking on a Belgian side, and the Belgian runaway leaders at the moment in Union Saint-Gilloise. I'm going to go for 3-1 to the Belgian side. In the next group, we have Maccabi Haifa, who were supposed to be taking on Villarreal. However, that game has been postponed due to the current conflict in Israel and Palestine. The other game in that group sees Panathinaikos taking on Rennes in a game where normally I would say that Rennes should win this one. However, Rennes drew with Maccabi Haifa and lost to Villarreal, whereas Panathinaikos beat Villarreal and drew to Maccabi Haifa. So I think you really have to look at the form in this group and say that Panathinaikos, despite being still the underdogs, I would argue, for this match, I'm going to back them to get the win over Rennes, and I'm going to go for 2-1. But obviously, we know the qualities that Rennes have. If they turn up on the night, they could very easily win this one. But I think it's going to be a Panathinaikos win. Next up, it's Sheriff and Servette in Group G. And I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Sheriff over the Swiss side. The other game in this group sees Roma taking on Slavia Prague. And I'm going to back Jose's side once again to get the job done. I'm going to go for 3-1 to them. The final group of the Europa League starts with Molde taking on Hacken in a game that is really, really annoying to call because both sides have been playing terrible so far, and I just have nothing to split them. Molde should probably be the favourites, especially given the fact that they're the home side, but recent form would suggest that Hacken go into this as the better side, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. And finally, it's Bayer Leverkusen taking on Karabag. Karabag, of course, are the current leaders of this group, but I think with the quality that Bayer Leverkusen have, it should be too much for Karabag in the end. Moving swiftly on to the Europa Conference League, and we start with the Faroes' favourite. It's Klasvik taking on Olympia. I've gone for a Faroe Islands win again, and we're going to go for 2-1 to Klasvik. They've played very well so far in this group, and I'm expecting them to carry on doing so. While that game is going on, we'll then have Lille taking on Slovan Bratislava, and again, I'm going to back the major league side, shall we say, in the French league side to get the result done. Lille are a very good side, and on their day, they've got some very talented players, and I'm expecting them to beat Slovan this evening as we go for a 3-1 win. Maccabi Tel Aviv and Zoya, again, postponed due to the current conflict. So we move straight on to Ghent against Breidablik, and again, I've got to back the Belgian side in this one. Breidablik have not really done anything so far in this group. Ghent have played very, very well. Ghent, should I say. And I'm going to go for a 3-0 win in that one. For Balkani against Astana, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to the home side based on current form. And this is the more slightly difficult one with Dinamo Zagreb taking on I can't even get my words out, Victoria Pilsen in this group. You would have to think that on paper, again, Dinamo Zagreb should be the favourites, but recent form from Zagreb has been horrendous. Pilsen are playing very, very well at the moment, so I'm actually going to go for a 2-1 win to Pilsen, but be aware, again, I think all three results available in that one. And speaking of all three results being available, we then have Lugano taking on Club Brugge, and Lugano, of course, produced that incredible away win at Besiktas in match day 2. So that throws all sort of predictions out of the water when it comes to Lugano at the moment. Club Brugge, of course, are a very good team on their day, but they're not playing very well in the Belgian league at the moment as well. So as much as I really, really want to say Lugano are going to win this one, I still don't quite have full faith in them yet. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw, and we'll see what happens in that one. In the other game in the group, Bodo Glimt taking on the previously defeated Besiktas. I'm going to back the Turkish side to get the result, because realistically, they have to be winning games like this, especially after the defeat to Lugano in the last round. Next up, we've got AZ Alkmaar taking on Aston Villa in what I think could be match of the night. AZ Alkmaar currently sits second in the Eredivisie behind PSV and above Feyenoord, who obviously produced that incredible performance over Lazio last night. Aston Villa, we all know about how well they're playing in the Premier League at the moment. 11 home wins in a row. However, their away form has been very much lacking. So they come up against a very, very tough side tonight. I cannot stress that enough. AZ are a very, very good side and have a striker in Pavlidis who is scoring goals for fun. Villa are going to have to get a hold of him if they are going to get a result tonight. But I have to look at it and say Villa's away form just is not good enough. And I'm going to go for an AZ Alkmaar win. And I'm going for 2-1. The other game in this group sees Mostar taking on Warsaw. And I think given how well Mostar have played in their opening 2 fixtures, they are going to steal this one. And I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to them. Next up, it is Fiorentina taking on Cucarichi in the next group, and I'm going to say that Fiorentina have to take this one after some poor performances so far this season. Cucarichi have done nothing so far in this tournament, and I'm going to go for a 4-0 win to Fiorentina. And in the other game, which sees Genk taking on Ferencváros, the Hungarian top side taking on another side that are playing well in Belgium, but probably not meeting their usual standards. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one. Moving on to Group G, we start with Aberdeen taking on PAOK, and you'll never guess what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to disrespect the Scottish again, and I'm going to go for 2-1 to PAOK, which isn't unjustified either. PAOK have made a much better start to the Europa League. The Europa Conference League, should I say, than Aberdeen so far this season. The other game in this group sees Eintracht Frankfurt taking on Helsinki, and I'm going to go for the German side to get the 2-0 win. Final group then, it's Fenerbahce taking on Ludogorets, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to the Turkish side. And then finally, it's Spartak Trnava, that I can never say correctly, taking on Nordsjælland. Trnava have done absolutely nothing so far in the Europa League. Nordsjælland are a much better team on paper as well. And we're going to round off today's predictions with a 3-0 win to Nordsjælland. Thank you very much for watching as always. And of course, let me know down in the comments how many predictions out of 30 you think I'm going to get correct, and how many predictions out of 30 that you think you're going to get correct, as well as you try and navigate your way around this Europa League and Europa Conference League as well. Thank you very much for watching once again. And like I say, I will see you at midday for my fantasy football, and then, of course, 9 AM tomorrow morning for the return of Premier League predictions. I'll see you then.